Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Hi, and welcome to Consulting Leaders. Let's just jump straight into it. What got you into consulting?
Great question. Never planned on doing it. So it was a very meandering path, and I'll be respectful of time. So I'll get you the short answer. My business partner and I started a company in 2020. So during the pandemic, like most folks, we had a little bit of extra time and said, hey, let's build a business. That business was a software company that does procurement, helps with vendor management. Raised some capital, started working on that. And like most initial startups, didn't do too well, right? Ran out of capital and had to go find another job, right? And at that time, an ex-friend of our current friend, ex-colleague of mine from my days at Fisher Investments was the chief growth officer of a consulting company called Embark Consulting. And he had us join. He's been reaching out to me. He said, Ryan, you've got great sales experience. Would love to have you on the team. I said, not right now. I'm running my startup. Well, when that dried up, I had to look for another job. Serendipitous timing. A good friend of mine applied there and said, hey, I was talking to your friend and he asked about you. So I called him and got the job. I was working in business development there. I brought my business partner from the consulting firm, from the tech firm. We were working with Nathan Bell. He's a CFO by trade. Was working at Gartner as a senior financial analyst, talking to CFOs about data governance, helped them lead a hype cycle for predictive and prescriptive analytics, but couldn't actually implement what he was teaching, right? Gartner's all strategy, not implementation. Thought, great, man. Why don't you be a great fit over here? They're trying to grow their business transformation business here. And so I brought him over. And so we went from working on a vendor management startup software play to now working in a business development, working in a consulting firm. We were there for about 5 to 6 months, and then we're let go due to restructuring issues, and also private equity came in, and there was no longer a position of need for the two of us and some other folks at that company. And so we were then all of a sudden faced with, now we don't have a job. Our software company needs more capital. What do? We were talking with one client through Nathan's connections and my connections that were going to hire us for a scope of work. And we reached out to them and said, hey, I know you're going to work with this other company. Well, timing wasn't right. Were you still interested in having us solve that problem for you? And they said, yeah, we enjoy work with you and Nathan, so we'd love to do it. So voila, we were a consultant, right? We had the expertise to do the work, but we had never thought about doing that. And so we got into the consulting business with that scope of work. That where we started there and where we are now today are vastly different, but that's the origin story.
It's a lot. The industry I'm coming from is not too far from what you guys are doing. It's corporate treasury, where let's say 99% of people get into by accident. It's like CPAs or people working in the finance function who end up being like pulled into treasury because they start with a few tasks and then they're like, hey, you're not that bad at cash management. Do you want to, give it a shot? Consulting is a bit different, but I like how in your story, right, you got drew into this by actual demands, right, by the clients that you were working with, and it was making the link with the previous company, which makes sense, and which is what consulting should be about. It's like a need, someone pulls you in, gets your support, and then it develops. So that's the origin story, which I like. Can you take us to where we are now? So what problem do you solve right now?
Yeah, fast forward now, we run a consulting firm that has around 70 consultants globally. So we have an international presence, consultants in North America, South America, Latin America, Europe, Middle East. And so going from my business partner doing the consulting to now having a large multinational, or small but growing multinational consulting firm is a giant leap. Right. What we found out was, as we were on our own, we realized very quickly there were resources that were provided at the large firm: sales, marketing, compliance, deliverability, those sort of things that we, quite frankly, took for granted. And when we became an independent consultant, we had this kind of, oh no moment. We're small business owners now, not consultants, right? We thought, oh, we'd just be doing great work for great clients and solving problems. And no, 80% of our time was back office stuff and 20% was doing that. Also, there's a feast and famine cycle. You're on an engagement and you're doing great work to make sure you're delivering for the client. But what happens when that engagement ends? Now you have to go back and do outbound sales and marketing support. So we had that kind of epiphany after our very first engagement. And we asked around, we started doing some research and said, how do we solve for these problems? So we hired a marketing agency. We spent, call it 10,000 up front and then $3,000 to $5,000 per month in retainer. Didn't get much out of it. That didn't work, right? And if we did book 1 or 2 meetings, we didn't have the sales team to do the closing and the follow-up. So that was just one piece of it. We also weren't doing any SEO or outbound or marketing. So that fell short. We then took a look at, okay, if marketing's not working, what about doing partnerships? It was hard to find the right people. And so we went down this journey of there's no real resource that had all of the back office support. There's little pieces of it, and it was quite expensive. I mean, the marketing alone was a $3,000 to $5,000 a month retainer with no guarantee of even meetings or outcomes, ROI on that investment. So we asked a group of our other close-knit friends that were all ex-Accenture, Deloitte, McKinsey that had made that leap to become an independent consultant as well, initially for guidance on what tools and resources are you using to solve for this problem. And we heard from every single one of them, there weren't any, right? They'd all gone down the marketing path and had the same horror stories that we did. So we had this aha moment. What if we built a firm, a consulting firm, that provided the resources of those larger companies, but allowed you to maintain your independence? People go independent because they want to pick what scopes of work they go on. They want to set their own rates, right? They want to have that independence. They don't want to be told what to do. So how do you bridge these two worlds? And we asked our group of friends, the first 10 to 15, like, yeah, if we can pull our resources together and hire a good marketing firm and hire a sales rep and bring on a managing director and work together as a team, that would be great. And that was when we had the aha moment. There's a there. And so we built VAi Consulting as a consulting firm that blends those two worlds together, right? And so for our clients, right, they get very high level, top tier consultants that have all been around for 5 years plus, decades of experience. Many are former CFOs, former CTOs, have sat in the seats of the clients. They've also worked at McKinsey, Accenture, Deloitte. And they also get dedicated managing directors. We now have 3 dedicated managing directors, soon to be 4, ex-PwC, Deloitte, Accenture folks, right? Great folks. We have 2 heads of our practice now. We've got Glenn Hopper, who's our head of our AI practice. He's a thought leader. He does actually LinkedIn learning courses on AI and finance, written several books on AI and finance, has a podcast, FP&A Today. Go check it out if you're AI and finance. And then Dr. David Marco, who's the head of our data practice, who's considered the world's foremost authority on data governance, has his own firm, EW Solutions, rather. And so we have this framework. We have 3 dedicated business development reps. We have all of the framework of a larger firm. So when we go and speak with clients, they get one throat to choke for deliverability. That's that managing director and the project manager. We have client relations building to land and expand, right? We have one scope of work. It's on our paper. But our consultants themselves that actually execute are all high-level independent contractors who've joined VAi Consulting to get that. And they get the benefit of, they've grown their practice, they've done a good job, but they hit that growth ceiling. They don't have the $20,000 per month to go out and buy and hire a managing director, a sales team, marketing. They won't win larger enterprise engagements on their own because they're a 1 or 2 man or woman shop. They join VAi Consulting, we can go win larger enterprise and we can help them get, deals that they normally couldn't get themselves. We augment their business. We don't replace it. So it's a hybrid model. It's very unique. I don't think there's any other firms that are doing that right now.
So you created this partnership network, which allows you to pull together resources to have head of deliverables, basically, a marketing and sales funnel as well. You're very much focused around finance, if I understand, based on Glenn, and I forgot the name of the second gentleman who has a EWC.
Yeah, Dr. David Marco, yeah.
Dr. David Marco. So you mainly focus on finance. Are finance the problems that you solve, or is VAi Consulting really focused on actually creating the infrastructure for all the consultants to deliver their services? Just
Both,
to make sure.
both. We are a consulting firm. In the eyes of our clients, they hire VAi Consulting. We are a consulting firm. They sign our MSA, our scope of work. We deliver just like Accenture, Deloitte, McKinsey would. And then for our members, right, we're that back office support. We provide them that growth opportunity, those shared resources that would cost them way too much on their own. So it's a hybrid model. To answer your question, we have a bit of a finance focus just because I've worked in finance historically. I have a degree in finance. My business partner, being ex-CFO, right? Finance oriented. He went to Harvard for their data analytics program. So he's unique in the sense that he can speak finance and technology. Glenn Hopper, former CFO, finance and technology. So we have a unique niche that we do really well, that we can blend those two worlds together, right? A lot of consulting firms are either one or the other. We've got the skill set to both. That being said, we work with other industries, other specific areas of expertise. We have main practice areas. We do data, analytics, AI, cloud, and then vendor management procurement, which are agnostic. We'll work with different companies outside of the finance industry, but we technically win quite often when we do talk to the Office of Finance because we have a little bit of a bent that way. Now, other members in our consulting group have a broad base of industry expertise: healthcare, finance, technology, retail, government. They're a very, very broad group.
I love this. So I think we're clear on the what. Who is it that you're helping, Glenn? Who is it that VAi Consulting is helping? Because if you have like different level and degrees of expertise on different industries, when you're like, okay, I'm going after some business development here, that's what my next 6 hours are going to be about. Who is it that you're trying to get in front of, and who makes the decision of hiring VAi Consulting and then getting access to all those different experts and consultants?
Yeah. So we focus, like I said, we're industry agnostic. So that part's there. Now, that being said, we do specialize in working with mid to very large enterprise clientele. Just for us, the economics make the most sense. A lot of our consultants have a deep network of working with large enterprise. So when they join us, we already have connections there we can reach out to. So it just happens to fall that way. Also with data analytics and AI, they have the budgets to actually implement these sorts of projects. And then in terms of title, chief financial officers, chief technology officers, CIOs, CISOs, heads of financial planning and analysis, FP&A, finance directors, business intelligence directors, IT directors, controllers, procurement teams and directors, risk management folks, compliance officers. And then if a company's large enough has a data analytics team, we'll engage with them, and then cloud infrastructure managers as well as our core competency, our core target market, folks that would have a say in data analytics, AI, cloud optimization, and procurement.
Noting down a list of people that might be relevant, very relevant for you, Ryan, as we speak. Okay, so that is clear. Your background is in sales, right, and marketing, and I think you mentioned this. So this marketing agency when you started. Can you tell me a bit more about how you brand yourself today, how you market? Since you've pulled those resources together, since this is a pain point for a lot of consultants, right, to actually get marketing services that deliver, what did you figure out? What is working for you now? And if you can maybe develop on how you find those partners, right? How do you find the right partners that will add value to your network, not just be here and expecting to be delivered some work? Can you walk us through this whole dynamic and how you do things?
Yeah. So there's really two ways to view that. One, how do we attract talent to join the network? How do we brand ourselves and market ourselves there? And then how do we win scopes of work? How do we unseat Deloitte, Accenture, some of those larger companies on that side? So I'll start with the talent acquisition. So Nathan, I learned working at that previous consulting firm that a lot of consulting firms like to think their logo means a lot, and it does. I mean, it's good branding. I'm not going to say that Deloitte and Accenture or McKinsey haven't done a good job for the last 100+ years. They've absolutely done a great job. Who am I to tell them what's not working? But at the end of the day, clients want to work with you and me and people and individuals. And so it's really up here, who you bring to the table to help me solve my problem, right? If someone moves from Deloitte to Accenture to McKinsey, a lot of times they'll follow that individual because of who they are. So we really want to lean into that. VAi Consulting is great. I love my brand and logo, but at the end of the day, it's about the people, right? It's really about the people, placing the right people to solve the right problems on time and under budget. And so for our marketing outreach to consultants, we have to be very selective in how we bring folks into the collective, right? We solve a big problem, and there's a lot of demand for what we bring to the table. Our shared resources model, what the consultants pay us per month, is substantially lower because it's just a shared resources model. The more people we get in, the lower that cost becomes. So we have a lot of folks that are very interested. However, that being said, given that we share networks with each other, we're going on larger enterprise, that quality needs to be exceptionally high. And so we do a pretty robust screening process. We typically only work with consultants who have 5+, ideally 10+ years of experience. There's a lot of consultants that are in year 1 or year 2. I hate to say it, they have a hobby, not a business. Do they really want to be a consultant? Or are they in between jobs and are consulting before that next W-2 hits? So we have to be very selective in that. What's their background? What's their area of expertise as well? We look for folks that are data, analytics, AI, cloud, vendor services, business intelligence, cybersecurity, things that are tangential. So we're hyper-focused on those folks. So we do a screening process. We do outreach. We go through. LinkedIn's great. You have everyone's background and how long they've worked, assuming people keep that up to date, which they do for the most part. And so we'll targetedly reach out to folks we feel would be a good fit where, you know what, we're helping each other. Where if we bring someone in the collective, the other members will be thankful that they're there. They're high quality, not just bodies, right? We don't make any money on the resources. It's about scopes of work, how we go out and win business. So we have to be very careful of who we let in. So we look at their background, time that they've been consulting, and then we reach out to them. Simply get to know them, their practice areas, what are they like with clients, what problems they solve, are they having growth problems, and have they made an investment in themselves? Do they want to grow their practice? If they want to grow their practice, they've tried those other things and they are a good fit for us, we'll welcome them into the network. And people come and go, right? It's great. We have a tiered model where it's not, we started off with one pool of resources. Some people said, hey, I'm not using all of that. Can I use less? Other people wanted more. So we broke it into tiers and people will migrate between tiers. Some people will come and go and leave as they have full-time employment. They don't need extra outbound help or work to land more scopes of work. Totally fine. We always leave on good terms with everybody. So that's how we position ourselves on for consultants to do talent acquisition.
Of this. A stat that flabbergasted me, if that's proper English, is so most consultants will, and from my days at PwC, right, I could vouch for that, will aim for their consultants being, between 70 and 85% working on billable work, which means that 15 to 30% is kept for internal meetings, trainings, and business development, which in normal hours means about 10 hours per week. Since we are consultants, we know that it is a bit more than that. And yet, I'm speaking to dozens of consultants each and every week. Most of them get between 0 and 2 calls with potential clients each and every week. Most of them 0 for the exact problem that you mentioned. So if that's not too painful, Ryan, can we go back on that experience with the marketing agency? What do you think didn't work? We don't have to name them, obviously, but what do you think didn't work? Why it didn't work? And how you shifted to actually make it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the biggest thing that we come across. There's a couple things at play. There's behavioral economics that are at play. So consultants historically do not want to do sales. It's uncomfortable for them. Most of them don't want to do it. I was working at that previous consulting firm. They were giving out percentage of net revenue for any scopes of work they generated, and they wondered why no one did the work. Well, it's because they were uncomfortable. They were given no tools to do so, right? So you have to uncover that. Money is one thing, but if you don't give someone the tools that they need and take ownership of it and do it for them, they're not going to do it, right? My business partner, I always joke, as small business owners, there's this big pile of dirt. There's always something to do, but telling me that the dirt pile is there, there's a knowing doing gap. I know it's there. Are you going to help me with the shovel and help move it or not? And so what we found is that's a big hurdle for those folks. There's a couple things that at play, that if they were to go do business development on their own, they'd be uncomfortable. It's a separate skill set, right? It's, you can go to school and learn finance or accounting or software development. There's really no sales programs, right? And it's actually truly a specific skill set that takes a specific type of personality to do it right. It's not just talking to people, convincing them to do something. There's a process in place, right? I actually built a white paper on that. Happy to send that out. But how consultants can get better at closing. So there's that aspect. So they either don't want to do it, they avoid doing it. Most people operate in the quadrant that makes them money that they're comfortable. They don't want to go into that uncomfortable spot. When they're working a larger firm, they have a business development group. They never have to go to that uncomfortable place. When you're on your own, you're going to have to go to that uncomfortable place and do outreach. And so they never get around it. So there's the emotional, mental hurdle that's there. And then it's the time. If I'm busy, it takes a lot of time. I don't have the skill sets. If I do it, I fail constantly. So why go back and do it? So that leaves you with the options of, I can either go through some sort of sales training course and do that. Most people don't, most consultants don't do that. Or they think, oh, I'll hire a marketing agency. And why that marketing agency fails, there's really good ones out there. I'm not saying they're not there. There's the right one. There's a lot of them, right? Unfortunately, not all of them are good. And so how do you figure out, without putting money toward it, who's good and who's not, right? My business partner, I use the analogies. A lot of people selling maps, right? Someone's gone through the jungle and found the gold, comes back and says, hey, I'll sell you a map how to find the gold. And there's a bunch of people standing around that never been in the jungle and said, ooh, I can just sell maps, right? Well, how do you know it's the person that's actually been down that path? So step one, make sure if you're talking to a marketing agency, let them show that they've done professional services and consultant outreach for it. I'll just pick any marketing. B2B SaaS is different than professional services. So there's a lot. So it's overwhelming to even vet all of these people out, and they're going to be constantly at you. So that's very hard. Number two, what exactly are they doing? What's the ROI? So are they doing webinars? Are they setting up your website? What's the rate of return on these channels, right? Are you doing cold calling, or are you doing marketing, cold email outreach, LinkedIn outreach? There's different channels that have different ROI, and there's marketing firms that specialize in each one. So how do you know which one to pick? You pick the wrong one, maybe it's the wrong channel, right? Marketing firm, wrong channel, they'll always blame you, right? So marketing firms have a great out, right? They'll do the modality and they'll set appointments for it. Let's just say you pick a good one and they put 15 appointments on your calendar. You're like, wow, this is great, right? We had one reach out to us, for example, $25,000, I'm not going to name names, but $25,000 implementation fee, $5,000 a month. And they put this nice thing on their website of all the stuff they did. They had to find your target market, find their emails, enrich the data, set up the outreach, book them on your calendar. Yeah, it's expensive. It's a lot of stuff. You break that down, that's several $1,000s a month, right? I get it. At the very end, what they said was, all you have to do is show up and close. That's the hardest part, right? That's the hardest part. Yeah. Hey, show up and close. I'm not a salesperson, right? So now you're saying, okay, if I choose a marketing agency, maybe you choose a really good one and they do their job and they actually set you appointments. That showing up and closing is the hardest part. Deals fall through in the lack of follow-up, and consultants are really bad on a couple things. One, they give away a lot of the stuff for free. Consultants love the problem solve. So they'll get on 5 or 6 appointments or calls with these prospective clients and give away, that first scope of work for free, trying to problem solve, and the client's taking loving it because they're getting a lot of work for free, and then taking and move. Then now you're out of time and money. Or they don't know how to do follow-up and sales follow-up and push for the close and do scoping, et cetera. So a lot of these marketing agencies fail. It's not the right marketing agency. They haven't done it before for professional services, or even if you find a good one, they're still missing that finalized part, which is you need professional salespeople to close and do follow-up on that as well. So that's what we've seen, why those traditionally fail.
Obviously, I'm heavily biased on that topic, so I won't speak about us, but maybe some things I want to double down on here. Just following up what you mentioned, Ryan, is proof. Like, have those guys figured out the map? Have they found gold for themselves? And then did they help people like you in a similar industry find the same goals? And this is very simple to check. It is testimonials and case studies. Like if they
Mhm.
aren't able to provide that, I'm not saying that they are not able to deliver, but then the most logical offer would be, hey, this is risk-free. We only get paid if you get clients out of this. Because it's either you have proof that supports your claim that, this is costly, but that will bring you results, or you're like, look, I haven't done it successfully for anybody like you yet, but we're going to figure it out together as we go. Now, there is a time component out of this, obviously, which is, do you want to invest your time into this or not? Then it's up to you to call it. But it's so hard. Anybody can claim anything on the internet nowadays. That's what I always say, especially with AI and all the fluff going on. Everybody is an expert nowadays.
Mhm.
So having that proof with case studies and testimonials for me is the best thing to check if you're considering working with an agency. How do you? Oh, that's a perfect segue. How do you bring it
One
home?
comment on that though
Go
too.
for it.
You brought up a good point. So I offer this too. We found this too, where I said, "Great. Well, how about this marketing agency? Instead of paying you, 10 grand up front and $5,000 a month retainer, and then 3 weeks, 3 months from now, you've got 2 meetings and blame me for my lack of an ICP. How about we pay you on what you generate?" And until we started bringing the marketing in house and realized how expensive it is to do that, I finally understood why most marketing agencies don't. They have to put in time and effort and money. So let's just use cold email outreach as an example. I have to go find a targeted client list. Well, it takes me time to interview the potential the client to understand there's a time component, so they have to be paid for that. Then I have to go use the software, Apollo, Zoom Info. There's hundreds of them to go find those lead lists. That costs money. Then I have to go find the emails. That costs money. That's another piece of the tech stack. Then I have to validate those emails so that I know if I send an email, it doesn't end up in the spam folder. You have great messaging that shows up in spam. No one's reading it. That costs money. Oh, and then by the way, I've got to have domains and emails warmed up, because if I send it from your own consulting domain, it'll blow up your domain if it doesn't work. So I have to go warm those up. So it's very expensive. So marketing agencies, if they're working on a percentage of net revenue basis, they've already sunk a lot of time and cost with no guarantee of net revenue. Because like I mentioned earlier, the hardest part sometimes is that closing. Can I close and do it? So if I'm a marketing agency, I've done my job. I've delivered your target market hot and fresh to your calendar, but you're a consultant that can't close and you just stop closing deals. Guess what? Now the tables have turned. The consultant's going to blame the marketing agency for their lack of ability to close and say, well, these are terrible. What am I paying you for? And now that marketing agency, they're out of all that money. So there's a catch-22. You have to have both components, the marketing and the sales. Otherwise, if I'm a marketing agency, I would never engage with that net revenue unless I interviewed that person's sales team or sales skills to know they could actually close, right? So I have newfound appreciation for marketing agencies after we started bringing that in-house to realize how very expensive it actually truly is.
That I could talk about sales and marketing all day, Ryan, especially for coaches and consultants. I love it. Maybe that's for an episode number 2. So how do you bring it home then? How do you now, for the coaches and consultants listening to us who are struggling with sales and the actual closing, how do you go from, okay, strangers now know about VAi Consulting, they know about our partners, they know about what we do, they are in our pipeline. How do you move them from that to SOW, MSA, letter of engagement, we are rock and rolling?
Yeah. So the way we do outreach, we have a sales team. So we have three dedicated business development folks. We've solved that problem. We do our in-house marketing. And so as economies of scale, that's the other thing about marketing is if you do it at a larger scale, all those tech stack pieces I said, you can drive rates down pretty good. So we basically build a whole sales and marketing team that our members get access to. So we do that for them. And then how it works, we go on a meeting, we'll have the sales rep will uncover, is there an opportunity? Is there a problem that needs to be solved here? Sometimes the consultant's with them on that actual meeting. Sometimes the sales reps by themselves. Once they find it, we have a Slack channel where we have open opportunities. They'll actually post the open opportunities there and say, hey, here's the discovery call. Here's the context of what we found. And then our members will raise their hands and say, yeah, I'd like to work on all or part of this engagement. We then assign one of our managing directors who have the background, work at the larger firms with staffing, and they will go through, work with the sales rep and the consultants that raise their hand, and say, great, who's the best fit for this? How do we put this together in a functional scope of work to deliver to the client? And then the managing director and the sales rep will then go do that sales follow-up with the client. And so they'll meet with the client, or usually sometimes it's large enterprise, it's like 10, 11 people, sometimes a client's team, multiple meetings driving that sales process forward until we get a signed MSA and signed scope of work. And then we do the kickoff call, bring the consultants in to start to execute. And then deliverability, we've got project managers and the managing director overseeing the consultants' work as they go, just like a normal consulting firm would.
I love that you have such a well-oiled process. One of the things that you mentioned was follow-ups. How do you do that? Because we know we are in high ticket sales. This is what this is, very high ticket sales. It doesn't happen in just one call, right? So you can have the BD or BD and the consultants in the same call, but then this is not where the client is like, guys, take my money already. I'll wire transfer it to you. Like, let's start yesterday. It will probably take a few calls, right? So how do you organize your follow-ups throughout the journey? And how do you make sure that, you walk that client through, we work together?
Yeah. The first part is to know who's worth a follow-up and who's not, right? So where a lot of consultants fail is they never get to that budgeting conversation because they're afraid, right? So when you're hungry, everything looks like food. You don't want to, and you spend way too much time with people who don't have budget, right? And so by inserting, at least at VAi, for our consultants that join our network, they have the sales reps who are trained to do that. And so they will ask those uncomfortable budget questions, almost like good cop, bad cop, right? Consultants there, just a subject matter expert, but the sales rep. So number one would be get to that budget conversation as soon as possible. How serious are they about actually solving this problem? Or are they going to use you for 5 or 6 hour long meetings to take knowledge and then go do it themselves, right? So get to that budget conversation first and foremost, because that'll tell you who to spend your time on. Especially if you're an independent consultant, your time is valuable. If you think about how much you bill per hour, if you're wasting time on people who don't have a budget, you're losing money. You're not making money, you're actually losing money. So that would be number one. Number two, once you're in that process and you uncover there is budget and a need and desire, make sure you're talking to the right decision makers, right? There's a lot of people at organizations who are good champions who will drive your sales process forward internally. But at some point in time, you have to talk to the people who are going to sign off on this. So getting to that next call of, okay, are you the decision maker? Are you the sole decision maker? Do you have budget for this? Do you have authority? Who would sign the MSA? Who would sign the scope of work? Oh, these people? Well, let's have a meeting with them. Make sure they book that meeting. If they balk at booking that meeting, probably not a deal, probably not worth following up with. If you do meet with all the stakeholders, et cetera, and you understand what they want, then it's a matter of your value and your positioning. So follow-up becomes asking them the roadmap. So a lot of consultants fail at, they do absolutely zero follow-up. They go on a call, they think they have a great meeting, and they walk away. And if you ask them, well, when are they going to sign the MSA, or when's their decision going to be made, or what's the next meeting? Oh, they'll call me when they're ready. That's not a plan. That's a hope and prayer. So having that defined next step for the client, you have to have that defined next step. If they don't give you that next step, that's probably a problem, right? You should probably dig into that. Why won't we meet with those people? Okay, you're not really a decision maker, or your budget's not till next year. Well, let's reconvene there. I'm not going to follow up with you till next year. I'm not going to follow up with you. After that, though, if you do have a valid opportunity with all the decision makers, you can solve the problem. Push for that decision, right? A no is better than nothing at all. You get a no, you know why. You get a yes, great. But if you're just in this no man's land, deals will die, because if you're not following up, maybe they're talking to other consulting firms who are being more aggressive, right? So there is a method to it. My biggest thing is, if you're not good at sales, hire a sales rep, right? That's where you hire those people where they come in. And there's different types of sales. There's prospecting and there's professional closing. Booking meetings is marketing. That's sales. You have a caller or whatever. That's sales and marketing. Sales and professional closers. Are they good at asking questions? Are they good at uncovering the true pain points, uncovering the budget, authorities, needs, and timing, following up appropriately? You follow up too much, maybe you make them angry. You don't follow up at all. There's a fine line there. So having the right people, the right skill set, just like I wouldn't bring, a sales rep to do a data governance scope of work. Why am I bringing a data governance consultant to do sales? Like, it's a different skill set, right?
Love this. It's not off the record because we are live, Ryan, but Do you have a hard stop in 6 minutes? The reason is I have more questions I want to ask you. But
No, we can keep going. I've got a couple. Speak of scopes of work, a good one coming in. I have to review before we push it out. So that was a good email just to hit here today. And I apologize if my dog starts barking as my kids do come home from school.
Right.
But yeah, happy to continue.
Amazing. So I'll double down on two things. That's a Alex Hormozy concept. Bam, fam, book a meeting from a meeting. I think in consulting this is not done enough, and it's pretty simple. Even if the next step is not clearly defined yet, if there is like, oh yeah, let's regroup in a couple of weeks, whilst you're in that meeting, book that second meeting. It's like, oh yeah, cool, no worries. So look, what I propose is let's put a placeholder call in 2 weeks' time so that we can regroup. You will let me know in the meantime if you have any questions, and we'll be ready for either next steps or further questions if you do have some, all whilst being mindful of your time, obviously. But having this book a meeting from a meeting concept allows you to stay in touch and properly follow up to lead that prospect to the signature with you. In terms of follow-ups, I love how you positioned it here. No follow-ups is not good. Too many follow-ups is not good. What we like to help our clients do is case studies and results. Like send a few here and there relevant case studies for the prospect of similar industries, similar clients that you've helped, and also sprinkle in the cost of inaction. Like, hey, look, I thought this might be relevant. You can anonymize, obviously, if you don't have the right to share the case study. But like, similar industry, this is the result that we got. And by the way, by not acting on this is just how much money you're potentially not saving or not making out of it. We talked about marketing. We've talked about sales. I love it. Let's talk about retention. So the partner who told me everything when I was at PwC, he was like, Guillaume, there are two types of consultants. There are the hunters and the farmers. And he was like, I'm a hunter. I love the smell of fresh blood in the morning. I love to go after new business. He was a very good sales guy, as you can imagine. And he was like, but the consultants that bring in the most money, the partners that are actually bringing the most money are the farmers. The ones who are able to take that initial engagement and transform it into a multi-layered, multi-year, transversal, like involving other PwC teams, projects by over-delivering in that initial engagement and like transforming it. Those are the ones who grow the fastest because farming is actually where the money is. How do you do that, Ryan? How do you take that initial engagement and transform it into, by bringing more value to the client? Obviously, they need to win out of this. But how do you do this at VAi Consulting?
Yeah, and just one quick thing. You're absolutely right about the follow-up. VAi stands for value-added interactions. We want every interaction with our clients to be a value add. So if you follow up and you give value, that's not a, hey, where's my money? Reminder, do you want to move forward? No. You got to give some value, right? So if it's case-based, I want to restate what you said. It was very impactful. So for your listeners, if you're going to do follow-up, try to add some value, do some research, etc. In terms of hunting and farming, for our consultants that join the collective, they join us because we have the hunters and the farmers. We do both, right? So when we go on an engagement, our managing directors and our business development folks, our client, relationship partners, their job and they're incentivized in their comp structure is to go find additional scopes of work. So as you land, we expand. And so that's, for our members, very simple. That's why you join the collective. We hunt and farm for you. You get to do what you need to do. That's great. But how we go about doing that is oftentimes, especially in AI, we're in a part of a hype cycle where there's a lot of over-promising, under-delivering. There's no budget for it, no proofs of concepts. And so we'll lead with, we do a lot of AI workshops, right? Lower value, but now we're in there adding value at a lower price point, and we uncover, oh, this is what that promised land could look like. Here are experts. And they go, oh, great. Now we trust you. Oh, can you do this and this and this? So you have to do really good work. So as I go back to, we don't allow everybody into our collective. It is a very elite Delta force of consultants. So we have to make sure if this works for everybody, our first engagement, especially since we've only been around for 2 years, we're not a household name by any means, right? Now, granted, our consultants have been around for decades, so we can compete with Accenture, Deloitte, McKinsey because we bring X of those people to the engagement, so our clients love it. But we have to, they always will still even test us out, right? The old adage, no one ever got fired by hiring Deloitte. So, you're going to take a risk on this VAi Consulting, they better do good work. So we have to come in and we are hypersensitive of doing a very good job for every scope of work that we do, because we know that if you do great work and solve good problems and are on time and on budget, that'll open it up. Our clients don't like vetting out new consultants. They do not like it. They don't like over budget. They don't like time and materials exceeding, right? frankly, some of our clients can get fired if they choose the wrong thing, goes over budget. So if we can come in and build that trust and add value, they will come to us. And we tell our managing directors and our business development folks are that tip of the spear. Their job is to make sure the current project is being executed as very, very well, but they're also to be that trusted resource for anything else the client needs. And so we oftentimes, clients come to us, they trust us so much, they'll come to the managing director and client relationship folks, say, hey, you guys have done a bang up job on this API integration or this AI workshop or this proof of concept. Do you know anybody who does accounting? Well, that's not our wheelhouse, but we have partners that we vetted out, and so they trust us. We have vetted partnerships. That's another way we generate business for each other. We have accounting and finance consulting firms that vet us out and send us their clients because they trust our team and vice versa. But that's how we hunt and farm, is we incentivize our managing directors and our sales reps to go build that relationship, to be that trusted advisor so that our clients will always come to us with anything. And frankly, if we're not the right fit, we'll tell them and say, no, we can't do that. But let me. And if we don't have anybody in our network, we will actually take the time to go find out and vet people for them and bring them 3 or 4 potential opportunities or other consulting firms. And our clients absolutely love that. As long as that trust continues, they'll continue to bring additional scopes of work. That's where that farming comes into play.
I love this. Brian, clearly you've come a long way from your beginning with that marketing agency. Where would you say you're stuck right now? The reason I'm asking this is we will have other consultants listening to us right now or when the episode goes on air that might feel stuck at the same point. And I think it's interesting to hear from your peers how they think about the problem that they are also facing. So where would you say VAi Consulting is stuck right now?
Yeah, I think it's similar to where most consultants get stuck, is you have to invest to grow, right? So you're going to hit a growth thing. You're only as good as your next breaking point. And at some point, you have to get out of your own way. So my business partner and I always joke, we love to fire ourselves, right? When we first started, it was just the 2 of us. Now we've got managing directors. That wasn't just some aha moments because we were on engagement. We're like, oh no, I'm too busy. Now we need someone to come take that over. So I think for us, being a larger and growing firm, where we get stuck might be different than independent consultants. But if I'm an independent consultant, it's you have to make that decision that you are going to invest in your growth. And it's going to take time and effort and money, and you're going to have to do uncomfortable things. And at some point, fire yourself and get out of your own way and put a professional into that spot. So if you're stuck and you're not getting any sales and marketing, yeah, you're going to have to hire a sales or marketing folks or find a collective like VAi or hire a marketing firm. Like otherwise you're going to get in your own way. And so as consultants, we're used to being the smartest people in the room. CFOs, CTOs ask us for advice. We're the experts. There's a little bit of ego at play there, right? And we have to check our ego and say, I can't do everything. Because if you try to do everything, you'll get heart palpitations, anxiety, you'll never grow, right? So you have to get out of your own way. So I think if I'm an independent consultant, that's where I have to realize and look in the mirror and say, am I happy with where I'm at? Do I want to grow? And am I willing to take that? Am I willing to get out of my own way and allow that growth to happen? And have a strategy for that growth. Hoping and praying that referrals come in is not a growth strategy, right? So you have to have that. So that's a big one. In terms of VAi, it's similar, but albeit larger, right? We have to get more managing directors, more sales reps. We're winning more business, right? Growing our firm with our talent acquisition drives the rest of our business. So where we get stuck, if you will, or I think it's a great problem to have. We have a lot of interested people, but we have to vet folks out. So that's a time-intensive thing. I'd probably like to have a consultant acquisition group that just does that. But my business partners and our managing directors, we're kind of the ones doing that right now, and other consultants are vetting it out. So, but that comes over time. So we're always good as our next stage of growth. But yeah, that's where I would say we're stuck in the terms of just like most things, but just on a larger scale.
I like it. And so I was interviewing a B2B coach earlier today, and we were talking about the fact that B2B coaches and consultants, we are, especially when we start, we are incentivized doing things a certain way, and we get rewarded for it. So in his case, it was we are getting rewarded when we figure it out on our own, so that we can go to the clients and be like considered as the experts. So there's a point in our career where we need to get some external help, whether that be coaching, services, whatever it is. And as consultants, we are reluctant because time is precious. We know how much we bill. We are trained to be great learners so that we can deliver on that. But then being like, okay, I can't figure it all out by myself anymore. I need to go out of my own way and hire somebody. I think it's the same thing about what you just said here. Like, we are used to be the smartest person in the room. We are used to be needed, because that's our whole business model relying on this, like how much we're able to charge for our time. But as you grow and you want to let other people take over the deliverables, and afterwards, you know where the money is, like attracting new clients, having that mindset shift is super, super important.
It's also hard because I know a lot of consultants have tried those things and gotten burned, just like we did. We wasted money on marketing and sales agencies that didn't work. And being able to not be so traumatized that you won't go do it again with the right people is difficult. I understand that. I tried marketing and sales, didn't work.
Yeah.
Was it the person, like the timing? Like, so you got to be very careful. It's like if you went to, you know, a burger joint, you had a bad hamburger, you never gonna eat hamburgers again? No, maybe it was the bad place. So you have to kind of be careful and understand, like, what does that look like? And then talking to others, right? So talking to other consultants who've stepped on those landmines, who've gone down that journey before. You know, don't try to recreate it. Just go talk to them and have that peer group to have that thing. But there's a lot of traps out there. I mean, you mentioned B2B coaching. My business partner and I went through a great coaching platform that was really good. It was $12,000. Learned a lot. But at the end of the day, there was no tactical implementation. So there's a knowing doing gap. I know I got to do outreach. I know I need to refresh my website. I know I got to be a thought leader. Great. Paying someone to tell you that is okay. If you didn't know that, that's great. But now it's the next step. Someone's, you know, if there's that big pile of dirt, someone's going to grab that shovel and start digging. So either you dig it yourself, you know, get your hands dirty, or hire someone to come in and dig for you. And then, you know, a lot of consultants can get in the trap of doing work that's not truly revenue generating work. And so I'll use another analogy. If I know I want to be healthy and I want to go to the gym and work out, I can spend a lot of time doing research on the best meals to eat, the best gyms to go to, the best way to lift weights. Am I in the gym though? No. At the end of the day, I just did 4 hours of research. I feel good. I'm moving towards my goal. I'm learning all this stuff. It's paralysis by overanalysis. Are you better off doing 2 weeks of learning, or is the guy or gal who got in the gym and did the wrong form, etc.? Who's going to win? The person doing the gym work. And so writing a Substack, posting on LinkedIn, writing a blog post, you know, putting up your website. You ever watch the movie The Matrix? The girl in the red dress. Is that a distraction towards your goal? Like, what's the ROI component? At some point, you can feel like you're working and you're not. And you have to look in the mirror and say, okay, is writing my Substack really generating me revenue? Is posting on LinkedIn daily? You should do these things, don't get me wrong. But if it's not generating revenue, what are you not doing? What are other people doing that is generating revenue so you can have those things, right? If you look at marketing, there's a play in how you layer these things on top. But a lot of consultants, especially, this is why we don't work with consultants who are brand new to consulting, right? Because they're getting the dopamine hit. I'm posting on a website, or I'm creating my own. We had one consultant that created their own store with merchandise. They had their own hoodies and stuff. Like, how much time are you working on hoodies? That's not generating revenue, right? So be careful of those traps and focus on, it's good to learn, but you have to do. There's a knowing doing gap. Knowing it, and we as consultants, thought leaders, we love to learn things, but that's great. Now you have to go implement. And either you got to do it or someone else has to do it, right? And that's the hard truth. Otherwise, you have a hobby, not a business.
There is so many golden nuggets I want to follow up on here, Ryan. So, because we're running short on time, I'm just going to double down on 3 quick things. First of all, I am yet to find a business owner or business that is growing fast and growing big that hasn't been burned before. I'm not saying you should look at, for getting burned and like for bad partners. There's like, if you're in to make big money, you will lose money. You will lose money first. That's just how business works, because you're figuring it out. And actually, if you're paying money to get burned, you're not paying down time, which is also a valuable asset. So, of course, you need to, and I think this episode was great about this, it's like how to find the right partners and how to build an ecosystem that will attract the right people to you. But eventually, you're going to have to risk money in order to make money. I love the analogy that you mentioned. The one that I always use is, hey, what if, you stopped after your first girlfriend in high school or boyfriend? Like, you get in love with someone in high school, obviously you get your heart broken and you're like, nope, relationships are not for me. I'm not going to get into anything anymore. Of course you wouldn't do that, right? So it's the same thing here. Yes, there are bad people out there. There are bad companies out there. It's about finding the right ones and not letting that one burn you twice. Once when you got burned, and the second time where you could have worked with someone who would have helped you. And the last thing I want to double down on is, as B2B coaches and consultants, especially when you're growing your practice, going from independent solo to building a team, anything that you're doing that is not getting you into calls with potential clients, I'm speaking besides working on deliverables, what are you doing? Like, if it's not getting you into calls with potential clients, or if it's not teaching you how to learn sales so that you can actually close those clients, what are we doing? And there is a huge problem right now out there, which is vanity metrics. Oh yeah, my LinkedIn post got 12,000 impressions. I didn't get any DMs. Oh, I reached out to, 7,000 people from Apollo that I enriched with Clay, and that's, we had a crazy good CTA and lead magnet. No calls booked. And it's figuring out this thing that will get you into calls with potential clients. That was a very long-winded double down, but I thought it was
100% agree with everything that you said. 100% agree. The vanity metrics is a big one. And like you said, it's only getting burned if you don't learn, right? So you learn, okay, why did that fail? What did I learn? Okay, so the next time when I go to a marketing or sales agency, I can explain, okay, I know what you're doing. We need to do this instead. So you already sunk cost and time and money. If you throw your hands up and don't try again, that's a loss. When I worked in investments for a long time in my previous life, and we always joke, it's not a loss unless you sell the stock, right? So if you put the money in and you never try it again, that's a loss, right? Or did you learn and are you reevaluating? And now you have the weaponization to knowledge to know how to vet a good marketing or sales thing. And so what changed? So you can always learn. And you're absolutely right. If you're growing your business, you are going to get burned. That's just going to happen. Just understand that's part of it's a feature, not a bug. It's a feature of growing a business. And so 100% agree with you on that.
Ryan, this was an absolute masterclass of consulting and developing a business, a consulting business, a consulting practice. So thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders. If people want to find out more about you, what you guys do, potentially reach out to join the network or collaborate with you, where should they go?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn directly. We do have a talent acquisition team that would do the first call and vet those folks out. But I'm happy to chat with folks, and so is my business partner as well. We're not so big that's fully been outsourced yet. We want to play a part in talking with all members, so they can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, or go to our website www.VAi-consulting.com as well. But LinkedIn's usually the best.
Well, you've at least made one connection out of this, because I just added you, Ryan.
Oh, perfect. Great.
For coming on Consulting Leaders.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.